All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower live Q&A on August 31st, 2015. I'm glad to talk to you all, and let me just get a couple things here. Straighten this out just a bit. Okay, so I know some people asked questions before we started. So if you have any questions, but it's best, I want to answer the ones that are asked after we start, just because usually I fall so far behind. So if you have any questions, go ahead. Are you guys can you do board game room tours? Well, I've done one of my room before. Doing it of the other guys' places, that might be interesting. We're definitely going to do one of Jason's at some point. I just need to get up there and do it. Man, it never works out right. I got to figure out when I'm going to go do that. How do you see the Dice Tower growing or changing in the future? I don't know. I have some thoughts and ideas, but I usually try to keep these things internal until we can pull them off, just in case we can't. Then we would disappoint people. What are my thoughts about Jason's Top 100 intro music? I think it's horrific. That's why I had it put in there. This is a good question. I think that answers a lot. We did our top 10 TV shows earlier, and a lot of people said, surprised none of you had The Wire on your list. I think I watched half an episode of The Wire. I'm not a big fan of excessive profanity in shows. That just seemingly goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of HBO shows that just don't appeal to me. That's just not something I'm very interested in. That's why a lot of HBO shows didn't make my list at all. That's not to say I don't like HBO. I think the John Adams miniseries is tremendous. Let's see. With so much of your gaming playing time taken up with playing games for review, how often do you get to play your favorite games in your collection, says Chris. This is a question that's asked all the time, so I'll answer it again. And it's not a ton of time, but it doesn't bother me because I like to play new games. It's fun. Let's see here. What is your favorite Marvel Legendary team to play with, or do you randomize? I don't know that I randomize, but I'll just flip through and be like, ooh, let's use this one. If I'm playing with people, I'll say, hey, what's your favorite character in the Marvel Universe? Because everyone has some sort of favorite character, and almost everyone's favorite characters are now in the game. I'm not sure how many people are going to say, Old Man Wolverine or Old Man Logan and stuff. Some of these newer sets are starting to put more and more obscure characters in, and I'm not sure why, when there's a lot of characters that aren't so obscure that they can put in, but whatever. What's the optimal way to play Nothing Personal? Number of players, 4 or 5 is fine. Number of rounds, definitely 4 rounds. How many cards in the decks? That I don't really understand. I don't really think it matters. You could put 500 cards in the gangster deck, and you're still going to only play with a certain amount over the course of the game. Have me and Z considered trading out hosting duties on Blender and Breakfast for a week? I don't know. He has his show, I have mine. I don't know that I would want to do that. I really like Board Game Breakfast. I like how I put it together. And honestly, that would require a lot of work on both our parts. I think the shows are good at this point in time, and they both have a distinctive style. I'm pretty happy with how my style is. How long are we going to be at Essen? Well, we will be arriving early, actually, Tuesday of Essen, and we'll be leaving on Monday. So we'll be there the entire time. Now, if you want to find us, that's going to be different. We're going to set up a schedule where we'll be at the booth half the time. So anytime you go by the booth, you'll see either me, Z, Jason, or Eric. You'll see somebody at the booth, but I can't tell you who and when and what will be there. But we will be, one of us 4 will be at the booth at all the different points. Let's see here. What's the most difficult co-op game to beat on the standard difficulty? Probably Yggdrasil. How difficult should a co-op be? I don't know. I don't really mind how difficult a co-op is, as long as I feel exciting to play it. I mean, if it's a game that we beat more often than not, I don't mind, I guess, as long as it was exciting to get to that point. What are you hoping to see from Fantasy Flight Games on Force Friday? Hey, that's this Friday. I don't know. It's interesting because I haven't seen anything down the hobby distribution level. Like, the hobby distribution level, I should have seen something in that regards. At this point in time, and I haven't seen anything. I haven't even heard any mention of anything. All we know is the leaked pictures of X-Wing. So I'm looking forward to the new X-Wing, right? I honestly don't know what to expect. I don't know if there's going to be anything other than new X-Wing stuff. Do you think you perpetuate the cult of the future? Well, I think we do to some degree. There's no getting around that. We obviously talk about games. With games that we get excited about, and here Pesky Blowfish mentions Blood Rage. And we do the games as we get them, right? I was not like pushing Blood Rage when it was on Kickstarter. I didn't really, I thought, ooh, that's interesting. Sounds fun. And that was about the extent of my thought about that. That was far off. With Blood Rage, I'm thinking more about the fact that it's here right now. It's going to be in people's hands very soon. And a lot of people were able to get it at Gen Con. So it's not like there's none out there. And I have it, and I have a full-fledged game. I'm talking about a game that I am playing. Now, I know that's getting people excited about it and such, and when it hits, I know it perpetuates the Call of the Future a bit, but I suspect we'll still be talking about Blood Rage in next year. I think that at this point, Blood Rage is a very strong contender for Game of the Year. And I guess I'm getting off point here. I'm talking about Blood Rage rather than the Call of the Future thing. We do to some extent, but at the same time, I also want to talk about older games, which is why you'll see Sam, especially, and Z, and sometimes me, you'll see us review older games because I want to keep that balance. Sure, we should talk about new upcoming games, but we should also talk about games that are out. And most of the games that we talk about are either out or they're going to be out very soon. When are you announcing the winners of your contest? Well, if you're talking about the Dice Tower audio, that will be next Tuesday. Not tomorrow, but next Tuesday. Although, you'll find out, I didn't do my math right. You'll find out the winner of that one this coming Friday when we announce the big winner. As for Board Game Breakfast, I think you should listen to Board Game Breakfast and then you'd find out. What are my feelings on math trades? They're fascinating. I don't know that hardly any humans understand exactly how they work. I mean, I know the basic concept is I trade a game to you, you trade a game to Bob, Bob trades a game to Sam, Sam trades a game to me. And that makes sense. How it does it, the math and everything behind it is very intriguing, and it takes a bit to get into it, to understand it. You have to read tutorials and things, but it's not as difficult, but it looks difficult. I've done them before in the past. I have a good time doing them. I don't do them now because I just don't need more games. And there's like no game that's out of print or that's, there's really no game that I'm like, ooh, I wish I had that game. I mean, really, I don't even look in used game stores anymore other than to I'll look and go, okay, ooh, that's interesting what they have. But I don't look at them and go, ooh, I wish I had that game. I'm very blessed that way. There's no holy grail for me. I have the games that I want. I'm always looking forward to upcoming future games, right? That new games, but I mean from old games. So math trades don't interest me as much, and also the shipping cost. That shipping is a bear. I am thinking about perhaps one time getting involved in one of the promo math trades. I think those are fascinating because promos are cheap to ship, and you might find a promo I didn't even know existed. So in essence, I think math trades are fine. The no-ship math trades at conventions are neat. They're hilarious to watch, although I found them a bit stressful because essentially you set up... When I did a no-ship math trade at Board Game Geek Con, for example, one time. And so I went there, and I traded like 6 games for 6 other games. Well, I had to make sure I had to contact everybody, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to meet you here at 9. I'll meet you here at this time. And then there's one main time where you can meet everybody, and you go to that time, and then you're just like walking through a crowd. Everyone's holding up signs and stuff and everything, and it was a bit chaotic, and it takes a lot longer than I think it should take. You almost wish there was some sort of honor system where you just put all the games in the shelf and put the name of the person whose it was, and you come by and go, oh yeah, these are mine, and go. Yeah, that probably wouldn't end well, but that's what I wish they did. But anyhow, some people love that chaos, and I always like going and taking pictures of it. You have a lot of experience with different gaming communities. If there is no local game store, where would you usually find tabletop gamers to play with? Well, I would check Meetup very first to see if there's any gaming area. Meetup has a lot of groups. I would look on Facebook. I would ask on Board Game Geek in my area. I would find something. And if I could not find any, I'd start my own. That's what I would do. Do you need the Viticulture base game to play the Tuscany expansion? Yes, you do. This is interesting. Unless you're wanting to save it for a top 10 games you like but are bad at, what's your favorite game you've ever never won or rarely won at? You have to realize this is most games for me. I don't win that often. I win more often than not at Cosmic Encounter. And that might be it, actually. I'm not that great at games. I win my fair share, I suppose. But I just always assume I'm going to lose. Okay, let's see here. For a group of Cosmic Encounter first-timers, would you suggest any rules variants? Or maybe some aliens not to play with? It's pretty simple. Fantasy Flight did a very good job of putting green, yellow, and red lights on those aliens. If it's your first time, don't play with any of the yellow or red ones. Just play with the green ones. That will make it a lot easier. There's no rules variants. Just play straight out of the box. I would say don't play 3-player. I know it says you can play 3-player. That's crazy. In fact, I'm not even a big fan of the 4-player game as much. I mean, I think the 4-player game is decent, but 5 or 6 is where the game just gets amazing. But there you go. Oh, I'm not wearing a hat. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. If I could pick any 6 wrestlers from the past for an expansion for WWE Superstar, who would I pick? Well, definitely the Dudley Brothers. Big Boss Man. Andre the Giant. Let's see here. For an expansion, who would I want in an expansion? Mankind. That's 4. Well, I'm counting the Dudley Brothers as 1, but I think they should. I mean, were they ever by themselves? Roddy Piper. Okay, that's 5, and then 6. We'll pick someone newer-ish, and I'll say Booker T. How's that? There we go. Not even totally sold on these guys, but anyway, it doesn't really matter to me. I can get into any of the wrestlers, I suppose. I mean, if you go back to the 80s or the early 90s, you have some really, it's that bright glitz and glamour and really just ridiculous. I mean, it's not that it's not ridiculous now, but even more so from back then. Let's see here. Stop banging the table. Am I? Thought I was just sitting here. Maybe I was banging the table when you said that. If you're ever wondering if a game made my collection or not, I say into my collection if it did. You can also confirm that if you watch Board Game Breakfast when I go over my reviews of the week. I'll mention what games made my collection. Now remember, I always say this, just because a game doesn't make my collection doesn't mean it's not good or even excellent. It's just that there are many different reasons games make it into my collection or not, and it has to be better than every other game in my collection, or at least some of the games in my collection, to replace one of them. Do you plan, on Board Game Breakfast you did cons to Kickstarter, do you plan to do a segment on overcoming those weaknesses and threats as well as capitalizing on pros? Perhaps in 3 weeks. Well, we'll see. I'm going to talk about the pros next week because, again, I don't want to be this negative Nancy. I want to talk about good things that Kickstarter does, too. I do want to talk about fixing things on Kickstarter and such, but at the same time, I don't want to make Tom Thinks just become a, what's Tom talking about in Kickstarter lately? There are other things besides Kickstarter to talk about, too, so we'll see. Has reviewing made you a better games teacher? Maybe. I think so. What about your work as a teacher? Did that have an impact on your reviewing and games teaching? I think it does. I think as a teacher, you need to be able to break concepts down and teach them to people. And as a game rules explainer, you are teaching a game. So that seems pretty obvious. If you're a teacher of one, you'd be a good teacher at another. How did I get so into hats? I don't know. I just always liked hats. I was very sad as a child when I realized that no one wore hats. In the 80s, everyone wore baseball caps, and that was it. And I was like, oh man, I missed the fedoras. I think fedoras are cool. So once I got old enough to buy them, I was like, oh, I'm going to wear them anyway. But nowadays they're kind of back in style, which is unfortunate, but they'll go out of style soon enough. Are there any major companies that do not send you review copies, forcing you to buy them yourself? That would all depend on what you determine as major. I don't think Mattel sends us review copies. Not everyone sends me every game, but we have other ways to get the games too. There's a few smaller companies who do not send me review copies because of ways I've reviewed their games in the past. That's fair enough. I don't begrudge them that. I disagree with them on that. But, it is what it is. And then there are some companies, and I've trashed their games, and they still send me their games to review. And I really respect that, and I really like that. And then usually when it happens, I end up liking some of their future games because not because they listen to Tom Vassell, but because the fact that doesn't bother them shows me that they're in it for the long haul, and they're working on it, and they listen to other people's criticism and things, and they're actively trying to make their games better. How do you pick the games that you make Dice Tower promos for? That's a good question. I mean, I talk to different companies, and if a company's willing to work with me on that regard. Other than that, I pick games that I think people want promos for. And people want promos for popular games, so I want promos for popular games. I might love this small minor game, but the promo is not nearly as popular. And I've had promos in the past for games that weren't that popular, and no one ever wants those promos. But you get a promo for, let's say there was a promo for Ticket to Ride. There's not. But let's say there was. Oh, man, people would be falling all over themselves to get that. And you can tell that. You can see Arcadia Quest and Dead of Winter promos and the Sheriff of Nottingham promos are my 3 most popular promos because the games that they come from are that popular. Let's see here. Is Mage Wars Academy replacing Mage Wars Arena for you? Not necessarily, but it could in the future. It depends. It certainly would replace it for me and when I want to feel like playing. The problem is I have 2 spell books for Mage Wars Academy, while I have 10 for Mage Wars Arena. Let's see. Do you think they'll reprint Flick 'em Up with a cardboard box instead of a wooden one? Well, that was their initial plan to do that. They said that initially they were going to print the limited version first with the wooden box and then go to the cardboard one. We'll see if that happens. Does Dice Tower back a large volume of Kickstarter games in order to review, or wait until the release to decide what to review? Well, first of all, that'd be crazy because we don't have that kind of money to throw around. No, I just wait and see. There's no reason for me to back a Kickstarter and then get it and review it when some of these Kickstarters are, they land dead in the water. That may be the wrong terminology, but whoever made that Kickstarter has no intention of selling any more copies. They sell them to the Kickstarter people and that's it. There's no point to me reviewing those games because then you can't find them anywhere else. So what I do is I don't even contact people who do Kickstarters. I just let them send the games to me or not. If they don't send them to me, so be it. If they do send them to me, that's fine, and then we'll gladly review them. I just got a couple Kickstarter copies from Tasty Minstrel that we'll be reviewing very shortly. And so that's basically what we do there. Yeah, I know the Dudley Brothers came back to WWE last week on Raw. I don't think they'll be there that long, but I I do like those guys. Can I talk about the Jack Vassell Fund, how it's doing now? How many requests do we get? The requests go in and out, honestly. Sometimes we'll get like 6 at a time. Sometimes we'll go weeks without getting one. But when we get them, we have the ability to fulfill them all. But sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes it doesn't fit in the criteria of who and what we can help. What's the best way to start Legendary Marvel now? Just buy the base game. Have you tried the Crossroads app in beta for Dead of Winter on iOS? I have not tried it, although I have seen it, and I think it's really well done. Is the reason Dice Tower stopped doing Kickstarter previews similar to the problems that you mentioned on today's Board Game Breakfast? Yes, there actually is a reason we stopped doing them. Let me see if I can find it. I typed up a Facebook post about it, but there we go. These are the reasons that I no longer do paid previews any longer. And there's one, the question of credibility. This is a small reason, I said, but the fact that people think that we could be bought. But the reason I say it's a small reason is because people who think that aren't going to change their minds. There's people who don't like the Dice Tower and the Dice Tower reviews and things like that. And that if you ask them why, they'll say because of this, and this. But even if I change a couple of those things, those people would likely still not like me. Once you get it in your mind that you don't like somebody, it's pretty hard to. It doesn't matter what they do, you're not going to change it. So people who think I don't have credibility weren't going to change their mind. But that's still something to think about. Time. For me to review a game. Okay, so I get a game. Let's say there's Dead Men Tell No Tales, and I'll be reviewing that one this week. And so I'm going to be reviewing Dead Men Tell No Tales, so I have to play the game multiple times and go through and everything. Kickstarter games take longer than that, and they need to be in a very specific time. See, this game, the company sends me, and I review it when I feel like it. Okay, now I try to review them in a timely manner, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Kickstarter preview, they're like, you need to put it up between this date and this date. So you're always like on this, has to be done here, and that causes a lot of stress, and I don't want to do previews. And then we would have the time ready, and then they'd be like, oh, by the way, we're moving it back 2 weeks, or we're doing this, or sometimes years. One time I did one that was 2 years before they posted it. And then there's pickiness, right? Some of the previews we do, and the people would say, oh, I didn't like the way you did that, and I would send them the preview, you need to fix this, you need to do this, and and then we have to go back. Sometimes we'd say a couple words wrong in the preview, and they want you to re-record the whole thing, and that was just a lot of work. And then some of these folks blamed us. The project wouldn't do well, and they'll say, well, your Kickstarter preview wasn't optimistic enough, you didn't say good enough things about the game, and that. Rule books. If you read a rule book from one of these Kickstarter companies, sometimes they're good. Rule books from published games are often pretty bad. Rule books from Kickstarter preview games are horrific sometimes. And then I have to spend a lot of times calling them and saying, I don't understand this. And then, no, it's not fun to call the game designer and say, guess what, I don't understand anything, actually. And then it adds a lot of time to the review. And just that time and everything else made one preview took as much time as probably 5 reviews to do. And then the components. Simply put, it's not fun to push around a piece of paper as much as it is push around miniatures, wood, plastic, nice things. It just isn't. It's not as fun doing that. And then there's quality. There's a lot of really bad Kickstarters. And, you get tired of, the amount of bad Kickstarter games that have not yet gone through the Kickstarter process is huge. And I don't mind playing bad games, but I like to play fun games. And then for me, it's more fun to see the Kickstarter project after it's done. I haven't seen the opening product. I think every Kickstarter preview that I've done is now actually a game. I think. That may not be true. So now when a new Kickstarter game comes out, I look at it just like a normal game. I don't go, oh, yeah, that's right, they talked about this in the Kickstarter project. I barely pay attention to Kickstarter projects other than to see which ones are important to point them to Dice Tower News. Other than that, though, I kind of just let it go and just have fun and see what the final product is. That's a very long answer to a question. My apologies. Have you read the Foundation trilogy? I have. I've read the Foundation quintagy, I think. There's 5 of them, I believe. There was the original Foundation trilogy, and then he wrote a 4th one. I actually liked the 4th. It was okay. The 5th one, And then he did a one that was like a prequel to the Foundation. I thought that one was actually more interesting than the sequels. Let's see here. Any plans for Grand Con this year? Well, hang on, I had to block a user. For Grand Con, I know that we're going to be playing some games for charity. You can pay to play in a game with us for Share for Nottingham, and the money goes to charity. And we're also putting on a show, a Wits and Wagers show. Other than that, we should be open, so we'll just be hanging out playing games with people, I think. What's my process for learning a game before introducing it to your game group? Well, sometimes I learn the games ahead of time, but usually I just open the box up and teach the game right from the rules. I know that's a big no-no for teaching games. I'm not as horrible at it as some, and I always warn people ahead of time so they have the opportunity to go somewhere else. They don't have to play in my game. Most of the guys don't seem to be too upset by it, so we're okay, I think, until the halfway through the game when I go, oh, guys, I missed this. When will we get more news about the Dice Tower Essentials line? When there is news to do. I learned the lesson that most publishers do, that when we announce games super early and then we find out that they're not coming out for a while, like we announced City of Gears way too early. It's not coming out till 2016. And so people have been oh, where is it? But if I hadn't talked about it, then when we knew it was in production, we would have talked about it, and it would have been more exciting. So everyone knows Only Time at Royals and City of Gears. They are coming. Not sure exactly when. As soon as I am exactly sure, of course, we'll announce it. As for the rest of the games in the line, and we're working on 4 or 5 other games, those games will announce them as they move further along. Although there's one in there that's really, really good. It's really excellent. I mean, I think they're all excellent. Again, let me rephrase that. I'm saying that there's no Ticket to Ride promos for us. What's my favorite Ticket to Ride map? Markland, probably. Germany. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about people approaching you and talking with you at conventions? I don't know what the scale is. Is like 1 bad, 10 good? We'll say 10's good. I'll say 9. I really like when people come and talk to me. Now, occasionally when I'm carrying games or when I'm just trying to run from one point to another point, it's like, okay, let me go. Because you don't want to be rude to people. You feel really bad if you are rude to people. But for the most part, I like when people come and talk to me. How often does the Dice Tower go to small gaming conventions? We simply don't go that often. We can't because we just don't have the time, energy, money. Now, let's say the conventions are paying us to come and paying for things to come. Even then, we're going to not be able to go to all of them because of time and such. So you may see us at small gaming conventions, but we're already going to 6 major conventions over the course of a year. The Gamma Trade Show, Origins, Gen Con, Dice Tower Con, Essen, and BGG Con. Those are 6 pretty big gaming conventions, and we're not even going to things like PAX, South by Southwest, Geekway to the West. I think those would be the biggest ones. Oh, we're not going to Nuremberg in Germany, the New York Toy Fair, the Chicago Toy Fair. So because we're not even doing all those, there's just no way. 6 conventions means every month I'm out of my house for about a week. So I got to kind of gauge that. How much do I not want to be in my kids' lives? I'm out of their lives 1/10 of the time. Not a terrible thing. I work from home. But still, we don't want to be away too many times. There seems to be a rising trend of Japanese games. Do you think we'll see a rise in availability? 22 plus shipping for the Oink games feels pretty high still. It is pretty high. But I think that's just one of those things. If you really want them, you'll pay for them. Honestly, there's a lot of Japanese games. We got 4 boxes from Japan, and we're working through them. I'll be showing one off this week. But the fact is, some of them are good, and some of them are great. The great ones you will see. I still remember the first time I played Machikoro. I was like, wow, this game is really good. I hope someone picks it up. Obviously, it was picked up, and obviously, it's doing very well. What types of gamers are there? Because I call myself an omni gamer. And Jason is an omni gamer. And how can someone decide what type of gamer he is? Well, it's not like once you choose, you can no longer go back. That's the guild you're part of the rest of your life. Now go and fight for us or guard our borders. Usually I'll say someone's a war gamer because there are people who like to play war games. I've met train gamers. They're people who like the heavier train games. And I've met heavy Euro gamers. These are people who like Euro gamers and they don't like much else. And then there's people who like the Ameritrash style games. And people usually have their sweet spots. I mean, if you look at Sam, he certainly likes a certain style of game, and Z likes a certain style of game. And that's fine, and I have my likes and dislikes too, but I'll try almost anything once, with the exception of super long games or games that just look horrific. Jason has no problems with that. He'll play anything. Is there a planned limit on the number of games in the Dice Tower Essentials? I haven't even thought about that. I don't think so. Is Champions of Midgard among the best games of the year? So far it is. We will see where these games land up at the end of the year when we do our top 10s. Do you have the expansion of Aberbit Mitsan? Is that the piece of cake? I think it's a piece of cake. And yes, I do. It's the one piece of cake that's every fruit on it. I like that one. Why do you prefer Wallenstein over a Shogun? Well, seriously. Now that Z and Sam aren't here to shout me down on this. I really don't understand why people like Shogun over Wallenstein. I do understand that Shogun introduced a way for turn order to be better. That was good. But then when they redid Wallenstein, they added that to Wallenstein. The Wallenstein map does not allow you to turtle in sections, while the Japanese map does. To me, that makes the Wallenstein map always ever moving. You can't ever get comfortable, and you have to work hard for your victory over the course of the game. While in the Shogun map, it is possible to get one corner, control that area, and then not take over other people's areas. I don't even think that the Wallenstein map's a little better than the Shogun map. I think it's at least 2 to 3 times as better. I'm not arguing over theming. I think samurais are cooler than German Renaissance or whatever period that happens in, for sure. But take that theming out, and honestly, there is no question in my mind that the Wallenstein map is better. Let's see here. When do you plan to start your 2015 Top 100? Yeah, I know. I should be doing it. Maybe I'll start recording some of that this week. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that one. I don't know. I haven't even put the list together yet. So that's number one. I got to put the top 100 list together. Be interesting to see what it's like. I was just thinking today that some games that were in my top 10 have fallen out of my top 10, actually. I still like them, but, intriguing. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you. Let's see here. Have you ever forgotten a rule to a game to realize the game works better without the said rule? Yes, I have. For the life of me, I can't remember any good examples of that right now. But there have been times where I was like, what? What is this rule? Okay, but we were having fun without it. I know I've done it a few times, but I can't remember when. How often are Z and Sam over at your place for Dice Tower purposes? And how many videos do you put together when you're all together? They're over at my house at different times. I can just tell you the schedule so you know when you can shoot us all. On Monday is my day to work alone. That's usually when I do all my component drops and finishing up board game breakfast and just getting the week together. I do lots of lists and planning and stuff for the week. Then on Tuesday, Z comes over, and we work together on different things. On Wednesday, Sam comes over, and then on Thursday and Friday, they both come over. That changes from week to week. That's not always the case, but that's usually when we record our stuff together. I've not been to the Czech Republic. I would like to go to the Czech Republic. When they have a game convention, maybe. That's another game convention I'd like to go to sometime, is the UK Games Expo. What's your favorite game to play when you aren't in the mood to play games? Then that would be a video game. It really would be. If I'm not in the mood to play games, I'm not in the mood to play games. So then I'll play video games. I'm just excited. I don't keep up to date when new stuff comes out. So I was scanning the iOS to see what new games are out, and Final Fantasy VII is out. I was like, woohoo! So I bought it. The controls are okay, but I got my daughter to start playing it. Melody's never played it before. So I told her to go through, and if she ever has any problems, come to me, and I know how to beat them. But I'm excited to go through it again. I'm kind of not playing it too much. I'm waiting for that airplane trip to Essen or other conventions, and that makes the time go by a lot faster when you play a game like that on a trip. Okay. What's the first expansion you get for Seven Wonders? I'd get, I don't know, whichever one interests you, I think. Crystal Ball time. Which of these games will we still be talking about in 5 years? Flip City? No. Medieval Academy? Yes. Stockpile? Probably. La Granja? No. Voyages of Marco Polo? No. Maybe. No. But we'll still be talking about Medieval Academy and Stockpile, likely. Ever been camping? I consider camping when you stay at a 2 or 3 star hotel. So yes, I've been camping. I've been camping before. I hate it. I really do. I like nature, but I like it looking at it through a window or walking in it during the daytime. Nighttime is, ugh. I hate sleeping in tents. I hate roughing it. I'm a pansy. I don't care. I'm just don't like camping. They like camping. Fortunately, there's some families in my church who like to take my kids camping. It's a win-win. Wasn't Dead of Winter a Kickstarter game? It was not. Do you still have your copy of Heroes of Normandy? No. Sam has it. I should do my top 100 live? Maybe. Do you ever struggle with the materialism of the board game hobby? Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, it's get. How do I feel about that issue? Well, I kind of counteract that with things like the Jack Vassil Memorial Fund. That's more of a giving thing than a getting thing. Let's see here. Do your top 100 with Sam and Z shouting you down. I might do those. We'll see. Maybe I'll do my top one. I don't know what I'll do this year. I really need to figure that out, though. How many games I play per week on average? 20 or so. Since Ryan Metzler scaled back in his volume of reviews, do you have another go-to guy for big, mechanically heavy games? I really do not. Ryan is still going to be doing reviews in that regard. He just has a job that keeps him very busy, so he's not able to get those out as much. I wouldn't mind having someone who was interested in doing those on video. I'm looking for more video reviewers, honestly. I have, my core group, but, some of those people are moving on. The Chief has moved on to his own YouTube channel, which is fantastic. And that's one of the things I've always said. I think the Dice Tower is great when the Dice Tower is great when you look at it and you'll say, wow, all these other channels started and they got their start on the Dice Tower. Oh man, I would love that. So I don't mind people going off and starting their own channels. So Bart's going off and starting his own channel, and there's others who are maybe moving on to their own channel in the future. And so when that happens, I have holes, and I'm looking for people. I'm actively looking. If you are interested in reviewing for the Dice Tower, let me know. Now, granted, I may say no. I always ask people for like an audition tape of sorts to do that, and sometimes it just doesn't fit our style or whatever the reasoning may be. But I'm still looking. So if I found someone who wants to do the heavier Euro games, now that the Chief's gone, I certainly need someone who's interested in war games or the heavier war games too. Honestly, I could use 2 or 3 more reviewers probably. But again, not everyone is good at doing reviews. It's just the way it is. But I would certainly be interested in talking to you about it. You could email me if you're ever interested. The Dice Tower's Employee of the Month. That'd be funny. But no, we're not going to do that. Are there any games you wouldn't review due to subject matter? Well, any game that would make me be crude on air, I won't review. Like, for example, Cards Against Humanity. I couldn't even show it, half the stuff on the air, because of the family-friendly nature of the thing. So games like that. And there are maybe some games for subject matter. I didn't do one time. That was a game in which you were terrorists and you got points for killing Christians. I just wasn't going to review that game. Yeah, I've never been to Canada. I've been to Canada when I went to the Gathering of Friends this year, but I only went up briefly to just across the border, essentially. I'd like to go more and see more. What do you think of the new game coming from AEG, Dice City? It looks interesting. I like Artipia Games and what they do, and it has dice, so sounds good. I'm certainly interested in that. Do you think Via Appia holds up today? The fun coin pusher mechanic is enticing me to pick it up, but with so many good games coming out, do you think it's still worth a chunk of gaming budget? Well, I thought it was a fine game. I thought it was a good gateway-style game. If you're interested in that, get it. If you're not, I don't know. Watch my review. It's up to you. I can't ever choose for people what games are best for them. A game I might think is fantastic, you might think is merely okay. A game I think is okay, you might love. By the way, for those of you who are writing nice notes in here, I do notice those, and I appreciate that. And I thank you guys for those of you who say thank you for watching. Very nice of you. Let's see here. So Joel Eddy was on Board Game Breakfast this morning. Is he going to become more of a regular reviewer? No, not really. But we got such a good response from the weekend review. And I said, wait a minute. Why should that just be me? So I put out the call for other reviewers who might have their own channels. These are also the same reviewers who are posting their videos on the Dice Tower website so that we can have a website that is solely good reviews that you can go check out. So Joel Eddy and Nick from Board Game Brawl, they do good reviews. So when you go to our site, you will find good reviews there. And so I've asked those people also to do their weekend reviews. So you saw Nick from Board Game Brawl talking about his games and Joel Eddy talking about his games. And you may see other people there in the future who are doing short clips about their games. I think it's fascinating. It's a way to kind of go, ooh, that's interesting. And then at the end of... And then if you want to find out more about those games, you can go back and watch these people's full reviews. Top 10 games you love but bombed with your group. Well, I think the best one for that one would be top 10 games only we seem to like. We've just done that. That's probably the best list to match that one. Top 10 games to start your collection. I think that'd be the top 10 essential games list. We're going to redo that in the future. By the way, the chief is not gone. He's just going to start his own channel. He's still around. This is a good thing. And we're on very friendly terms. There was nothing negative about this at all. He just wanted to go off and do his own review channel. And anytime, and again, any of my reviewers leave Start Doing channel, they're welcome back. I have no problems with this. I think it's fantastic to see these channels start up and grow. What games do you hope to see in Season 4 of Tabletop? Maybe nothing personal. Nothing personal is way too complicated for Tabletop. At least as by their standards. I think it could be done easily, but by their standards, it's too complicated, so we would not see it. As to what games, I don't watch Tabletop that much. I watch a few of them, but for me, Tabletop is all about the guests, and most of the time, I'm not interested in the guests, and I find a lot of their humor forced. Occasionally, there will be guests in Tabletop who are actually truly funny. They had Rhett and Link on to do what's that game called? The Concept. And there was a third guy as a comedian who was anything but funny. But those two were really funny, and so they just make everything funny, so I watch them. In contrast, the people who they had to do Sheriff of Nottingham, I was like, they were not interesting at all to watch. It still annoys me. So it all depends on the people. I don't really care about the games much. I'm interested in watching the people. Are they interesting to watch? Great. That's a fun episode. Not interesting to watch? And you can tell sometimes when they're making jokes, they are making the joke. You can tell. And I'd rather just the humor to be natural. How often do I get up to Disney World? We've gone a couple times 4 years ago. It's not free, I found out. So I have many children, so if anyone ever wins piles of Disney tickets, send them to me and we'll go. But honestly, it's just expensive. We pick a different park each year and wait till there's a deal on it for like year-round things. So this year we have a water park we're going to. And that's what we're doing this year. And the kids like that, and that's fun. But we're not going to Disney World anytime soon. Are you guys going to publish the names of the contest winners somewhere? No. It's always important to me that the contest winner is someone who listens to the show. Therefore, they will hear their name or watch their name as they come by. How long do you predict... Oops. Another user to block. All right. How long do you predict Time Stories will produce modules? I don't know. I think it doesn't really matter because each module will give you a full game to play, like 4 or 5, 6 sessions. I don't know how many times. I'm gonna have to play through one first and find out. But there you go. How do you handle someone who gets very impatient when you try to explain the rules and keeps insisting that we learn as we go? I don't know. I explain the rules and I just tell them, okay, then check out, I guess, why I explain these rules. Will there be a fan dinner in Essen? There will not be one. I apologize. I do have a Kickstarter back dinner that we're doing. The rest of the dinners, I don't know. I haven't made many plans. I will likely make plans for dinners each night. We did a get-together this past one, which was very fun at a pub, and we went by and talked to everyone and said hi. This year we have our show, so we'll meet people there. I don't know. If you run into me at night, maybe I'm going to dinner. You never know. Is there a Bizarro version of you named Vom Tassel that has a goatee? No, it's Mo Lasave. That would be the Bizarro version of me, and he'd be very refined. Would never wear a hat, clean shaven, a little grumpy, and hates board games. Loves sports though. Loves sports. As an avid gamer, do you think there are more quality games out today than were available, say, 20 or 30 years ago, or do we just have more options? There are definitely more quality games. Think about it this way. Let's say, and I know this because when I go back and do, let's say, the top 10 games in 1995, or 20 years ago, and I'm like, oh, man, I found 10, maybe 15. Nowadays, when I do the top 10 of 2015, I got probably 40 different games that I will consider for my top 10. That's because maybe there only a couple thousand games came out in 1995. Now we have 6, 7, 8,000 games. So there's more garbage coming out, but there's also more great games coming out also. All right. Which game have you wanted to play soon but couldn't because of any reason? Well, one game that I'm really looking forward to playing, and I'm going to try to get it played this week, like really try to get it played this week, is Crossmaster Quest. It took a while for us to put that together, to go through the rules. There was a lot involved, so I'm really anxious to get that one to the table. Will you do anything else apart from going to Essen while you're in Europe? Unfortunately, I will not do any more. People have often asked, why don't you go see this, go see the sites. I've even had people offer me to stay at their house before. But the fact is, I'm gone from my family for a week. Now, in 5 years, maybe, I will have an 18-year-old daughter. And maybe I can shuffle my 5-year-old son, or he'll be 6 years old at that point, 6-year-old son, off on her. And I will bring my wife with me. If I bring my wife with me, I'll go see other places. Without my wife, then it's just work. I get to gallivant all over the country and the world, and there's all kinds of cool places I go to, and sometimes I go see things at those places. Las Vegas would be one in particular. I like to go to the Pinball Hall of Fame, and I eat at some really nice restaurants. My wife does not get to do that sort of thing always because of the kids, and that's a choice that we have both made. And I don't feel always great about all the cool things that I may go do without her. So, first of all, I try to do cool things with her when I come home. We're not rich, but I take her out to eat once every week because of that reason, once the kids are older, I'm going to take her all over the place. Well, at least as much as she wants to go, because she deserves it. She really does. And I'm really thankful for her. You won't see her on the videos very often. She is not interested in that sort of thing. And she's just not even that big of a gamer, really. But she supports the gaming. She likes what I'm doing. And, I could go on all day about that, so we won't. No. Okay, Dice Tower t-shirts in kids sizes. I will check with the guy who does t-shirts to see if we can do that. Just adopted a 1-year-old foster child 2 weeks ago. We named her Melody after hearing the name of your daughter. She loves dancing to music. I think Melody is a great name. Unfortunately, when you go to the stores and you buy those like mugs and things, Melody's never on it. Melanie is the popular name of the day, but I like Melody. That's cool. More designs and more more women's Dice Tower shirts in stock. Again, I will talk to the person making the t-shirts. The thing is, we have I know the guy who's selling them off at a store. He has an actual stock in place, so we can't have too many different designs. And in fact, that's all on me. I don't want that many different designs, right? What I want is every month or so, we take a design. Actually, it's been a while, so it's about time for us to do it again. We take a design that's not selling that well, we take that off, and we add a new one. So we constantly have a new one. One of the things we're going to get done, I think, is a Dice Tower Essentials logo on a t-shirt, and maybe some other things like that. My daughter enjoys reviews with you and Melody. Will she be doing more? Did Melody and I just do a review last week? We did. And she'll be helping me this week when I talk about a game called Dice Alias. I think that's the one she's helping me with this week. Right. And when I do that Crossmaster Quest, she'll be all over that. What game do you want to play most with or against Mr. Rodney Smith? Well, I definitely want to play against him. He's one of my favorite gaming opponents that there is. Rodney is so much fun to play games against. And I don't get to play games with him that often, but when I do, they're games that I remember playing. I'll be like, yes, that was a fantastic experience. And in fact, as we get closer to the end of this year, you're going to see some top 10 lists that have to do with the year. And we'll be doing our top 10 games. We're going to do our top 10 gaming experiences. And one of those for me was a game with Rodney that we played this year. He's that much fun. So it has to be kind of a Take That Ameritrash style game. Do you have a favorite person to play games with? I do not have a favorite person, but I have a list of favorite people to play games with. I just mentioned Rodney Smith, but there are some people who I will, if they want to play a game, I will always play a game with them. There are people who, if they want to play a game, I'll play a game with them. But I mean, then when we're done, I'll be like, hey, let's all split up and play games with different people. But Rodney would be one of those ones that I would want to play with all the time. Hang on, I got a message here. All right, good. All right. A seal of approval shirt design would be cool. You're right, that would be cool. That'd be pretty cool. Not seal of excellence, though, right? Or seal of approval. Maybe both. Maybe you don't want to be excellent. You just want to be approved. How long is too long for you to have interest in reviewing a game? Do you mean game length? It all depends. I'll tell you, there's a couple games in my closet that I have not yet played because of the game length on the box. There's one that says 2 to 6 hours. And why does it say 6? There's another one that says like 3 to 5 hours, whatever. And it's like, So that's long. So we're almost out of time here, so I'm just going to answer a couple more questions. Although it looks like I actually caught up with questions, that's craziness. And some of you are saying, you skipped my question. Well, some of these questions I'm not answering because, again, like if you say, what's better, this game or that game? Well, go watch my reviews and you pick which one's better. I'm excited about Essen, although it's still a whiles away. Grand Con is the next con that we're going to in September, so starting to think about that a bit. We're still working really hard at just getting as many games reviewed this week. I'm excited. I got Dead Men Tell No Tales. I already talked about that one here. The newest Smash Up expansion. This game here, folks, this one is very interesting. Look for my review on this one, The Homeland. Or Homeland, the game, I mean. This is one of those games I was like, I don't know. But I really shouldn't doubt Gale Force 9 now with their IPs. And there's some other games. Got the newest Dice Master stuff in. That's always exciting. Let's see here. Into my collection with a gavel. Ooh, Dice Tower Judgment. That'd be a cool shirt with a Dice Tower Judgment. Approved or rejected. Alright, well, I think that's good enough. I know this wasn't exactly an hour, but it was close to an hour. So we'll come on again. Now, I'm going to probably play Rum and Bones with Sam Healy, and I'm probably going to do that on Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to try to play that one live. And then on Friday, we're going to try to play Blood Rage live. Now, a lot of this also has to do with how much I get everything else done this week. So keep that in mind. But that's that. Okay, so again, I apologize if you have any questions. Please come back and ask them next time. Until then, folks, my name is Tom Vassell, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. I appreciate it. I hope you all are having a fantastic, fabulous day. See you next time.